Good afternoon, everybody. On this edition of the Organized Academic Spotlight, my guest is magisterial student Gibson MacMillan. We talk a lot, or I write a lot on my blog post on this channel about how to be organized and how to be productive. And I thought it would be interesting today to get a student perspective on what students are looking for in professors and what they like and what they don't like and what works for them in general. So Gibson is going to be my little guinea pig today and answer some of these questions. He just finished an undergraduate degree in music and he's gone on to do other interesting things. I don't know whether he's going to go on in school, but that's a question to be answered at a later time. But Gibson, tell me in your own words, I guess, as opposed to somebody else's, what are you looking for in a professor? What do you like and what do you don't like about what professors do?
Well, I think that different students look for different things in professors, and it's probably true that, from one subject area to another, you're looking for different things too. But doubtless, there are things that consistently are attractive about a good professor across the board. And I would say that those have a lot to do with organization and a comprehensive sort of teaching style that not only is presenting the information, but is ensuring that students are learning from the information that's being presented. Of course, it's always nice to have a witty professor or somebody who's engaging or, you know, somebody who is rhetorically gifted, things like that. But ultimately, students want to do well. And so whatever the professor can offer to them to make sure that that happens, obviously not doing it all for them, but that's really what's attractive about a professor.
And can you be more specific about any course you actually took where that particularly worked?
I think of um, a professor that I had who taught keyboard harmony. So that's a very practical skill. And it's not something that you do much reading about, but it's something that you're doing physically and doing exercises and things like that. And this particular professor um, was very open to seeing what each individual student had to offer and then building off of that, rather than setting the bar here and teaching everybody from the same bar. So, but meeting all the students at wherever they were, and that was a really good thing. And that, of course, that does take extra work from the professor too, because they have to set sort of different expectations for each student based on their abilities and their talents and whatever. Um, but that I found that to be a really attractive teaching style. But of course, as I say, that was from a practical sort of course. Now, if I think of a more theoretical course or a history course teacher that I had, um, this particular teacher um, basically made each of his lessons into a story, and it was very easy to follow, and it was very engaging. And he used, excerpts very frequently from what we were studying, and he asked a lot of questions and sort of a way that made the students think about what was being presented more than just presenting the information and saying, "Hey, you know how to study, right?" So that was really the thing for me. And I think that ultimately in both of those situations, it's about knowing where each student is and being able to engage with them um, wherever they are. And so I think that a lot of our curriculum work can set, very um, unspecific bars or unpersonalized bars of achievement for each student, which is good. But um, the ability for the professor to be flexible and in an organized way and in a fair way, I think is really where a gifted teacher finds themselves.
And what particularly annoys students about professors? And try to be specific here if you can.
Some of the really annoying things, people who speak in paragraphs. People who show up with no particular direction of where the class is going. Just like this is the information we have. Uh, what do you think? By what it's there's no it's beyond presenting the information, right? It's about engaging each student and sort of creating a discussion around the information. But so people that are unable to do that, people that sort of just read from the textbook, you know, and teachers who don't put a lot of effort into grading, I think can be annoying for students. Um, not even like people can be quick graders, right, and return assignments very quickly. But if the information in each of those assignments isn't helpful, like in the notes, for example, or if they very clearly just read through some of it and then put a letter grade on because they didn't feel like reading through the whole thing. Like that's often what it feels like.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that it all has to do with, I would say, being really organized and confident and these sorts of things.
So organization to you means what specifically? What do you
From a
see?
from professor and I guess it's a lecturer, right? Because I know professors do a lot of other things too. But from a student's perspective, I would say that organization is having very clear direction, right? Being a good leader in the classroom, knowing where students are and where they need to be, and knowing where you need to put yourself in order to best serve them. That's what I would say organization is for that, and being prepared, obviously.
Mhm.
And well, yeah.
So what have you
So
learned
what
for yourself being a teacher in a middle school after you did your undergraduate degree? How did you take some of those things into your own teaching career?
Well, a lot of it was learning for me. I imagine your viewership doesn't know, but I taught at a private school here in St. John in New Brunswick and private Catholic school. My class was only 18 students, so it was a lot more manageable than some working in the public system, for example. Nevertheless, as a first year teacher who I have not gone to teachers college, right? So like I don't have the worksheets and the tips and things like that. So I was very much sort of creating my own model in the classroom in a way. But I found that if the teacher is here, for example, in terms of organization, right, they've got everything prepared, they know exactly what they're going to fill each minute of their class with, then the students are going to come up here, right? They're going to be sort of following just underneath where the teacher is. But if the teacher's here, right, the students are not going to be here. They're not still going to be here, right? They're going to be down here. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, and that's what I learned. And so I can reflect that and sort of seeing what my professors did and what was effective and what was ineffective, and uh, and ultimately it comes down to being really well prepared, knowing exactly um, what you're going to fill every minute with. Because if you've got spare time and you're just sort of wondering, oh, what am I going to do with myself? Right? That's when the trouble happens, and that's when the boys in the class start, you know, throwing things or whatever, throwing paper balls at each other. But as a teacher, it was all about filling every minute of the day with something that was engaging the students. Yeah, and of course, I was with them all day long. Whereas professors with a certain group of kids for an academic hour or two, and then they see them a few times throughout the week, or maybe once or twice a week.
It's a different situation entirely, right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Gibson. Your advice, I think, will resonate with a lot of the academics who visit our website, and it's great to have a student perspective on what is really valuable to the students in terms of how the professor performs, I guess, is the way I would describe it. So thank you for joining us today.
That was a very, very splendid pleasure.
Thank you.